May I come in, sirs?
Shubham, please come.
Good afternoon, sirs.
Good afternoon. Please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Shubham, tell us about yourself briefly, your qualifications, academy, your work experience if you have done, and your main hobbies.
Good afternoon, sirs. I'm Shubham Shukla, and I have graduated as an undergraduate engineer from BITS Pilani in manufacturing engineering, and I have, after my graduation in 2018, I have worked as a faculty of chemistry at a private coaching institution for students of JEE and NEET examinations. Under an year, I quit my job and gave my full time preparing for this examination, sir. My hobbies include blogging. It's a physical activity which combines environmentalism. And another activity that I'm into is watching and playing football, sirs.
So, Shubham, you have mentioned that you are a member of the anti-ragging committee.
Yes, sir.
So, tell me, this ragging has its own advantages and disadvantages. So, you think that ragging should altogether be abandoned and stopped, or you think that it can happen in some other format? Or were you prescribing any such format when you were a member?
So the Honorable Supreme Court in Aman Kachru judgment in 2009 had specifically mentioned that ragging in any form is not to be encouraged, and it is an activity that is derogatory for the students. So I'm of a very similar opinion, sir. Ragging per se is a word which has a very negative stigma attached to it, sir. So instead of ragging, what we can have is what we had in BITS Pilani, and what I observed as a member of an anti-ragging committee was a very friendly junior senior interaction, which was modulated by the warden as well as the members of the anti-ragging committee. And this was a contrary to the harsh and the undignified method of interaction which we called as ragging, sir. So ragging per se on its crude term is an activity which is to be abhorred and which is to be negated. But healthy student and healthy senior junior interactions is to be encouraged, sir.
So tell me, you're a manufacturing engineer.
Sir.
So this Ukraine-Russia war has affected the supply chain to a very large extent.
Yes.
And the China lockdown has also.
Yes.
Which are the areas where India's manufacturing is affected because of these two incidents?
So the two crises from the past couple of years, sir, has impacted certain sectors of the Indian economy. A major sector would be the Indian pharmaceutical sector, wherein many key pharmaceutical ingredients India depends on China for many key pharmaceutical ingredients. Apart from that, sir, we are very much dependent on chemicals from both Russia as well as from China. And in addition to this, sir, although not a very big by very big number, but India imports 3% of its energy requirements from Russia. So that is a sector wherein the global markets is facing a burn, and consequently India has also faced a burn. And heavy machinery is another sector wherein India is actually facing a lot of issues given the war, and Russia being a major producer of heavy machinery in the world, sir.
So tell me, the Finance Minister of India has visited Washington. Do you know the context? What is the context in which she has gone there?
I'm unaware about the context, sir.
She had gone to attend the IMF meeting and hold discussions with the IMF Secretary General. You're not aware of it?
I'm not aware.
There's another news item that this year, the MSP purchase.
Yes, sir.
Which the government does for wheat.
Yes, sir.
Which is the agency which does the purchase at MSP, wheat purchase?
So are you asking the agency which purchases from the farmers?
Yeah. So behalf of government.
So the FCI, sir.
FCI. So this time they say that more than FCI, the private traders are buying wheat from the farmers directly.
Yes, sir.
What exactly is the motive behind private sector people exceeding the purchase vis-a-vis FCI? Any particular reason?
So there are a couple of points of analysis that I would like to present on this, sir. One of them is that the FCI purchases of the wheat and other crops, sir, it has a very huge bill or a financial burden on the government, sir. With the participation of the financial or the private sector, sir, we see a part of this burden being shared with the private sector. And as the private sector is known for an efficiency level that is relatively better than that of FCI, we see that the losses, especially with respect to the storage and transportation losses which happens in the godowns of FCI, that can come to a reduction.
So, but is buying private sector buying, is you think it's sponsored by the government? They are asking the private sector to buy, they have directed them to buy, or is it their own interest that they would like to buy?
So generally the government is very much open to private sector, private traders buying grains at MSP, sir. There isn't, if I'm not wrong, there isn't any directive as such which compels the private traders to buy, but then the government has had a very open environment or a welcoming environment for the participation of private sector in procurement, sir.
Uttarakhand government has ordered that they will launch a verification drive, to against the outsiders, to check their credentials of people who have come from outside the state. Now, this move is a bit controversial, that anyone who comes in my state and he's not a domicile of that state, will be verified. Now, do you think this is a good step and will not lead to similar issues raised by other states in West Bengal? What views do you have about it?
So I'm not very much aware about the intricacies.
Uttarakhand government has ordered this, that we will, anyone who has come to Uttarakhand, who is not living in Uttarakhand, is outsider, may have come for any work, he may have settled down temporarily.
Yes, sir.
So they will go maybe house to house and check for who is, what he is. Now, do you think it's a good idea?
Sir, on the face of it, sir, I am not aware about what the intention behind this government using this information, or government collecting and using this information would be, sir. But on the face of it, I would actually say that such a move would have a spillover or a domino effect, wherein other states would also start conducting similar activities, and then the idea of India as a nation, as a unity of states, sir, would actually be a little bit like, we have this tendency wherein regionalism is strong, sir. Regionalism isn't always bad, sir, but then if a tendency wherein one state actually creates a program wherein verification of non-domicile people are conducted, it might cause other states to react in the same way, and there is this general mob tendency that things are not perceived very well in India. So this might go out of hand. So, but at the same time, sir, I am very much unaware about what the real motive of the government is.
Suppose they say that we are going to identify criminals. Now, suppose they identify a person who has a criminal background and staying in Uttarakhand. Can Uttarakhand government legally ask him to go away from there?
Sir, I am not aware about the legal provisions in the same, sir.
You don't know the fundamental rights?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm missing something. I'll get it, I'll revise it once, sir.
Yeah. Bits Pilani. And are there many from Bits Pilani who have made it to the IAS so far? It's
Yes.
an old institution. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Reputed one. Many.
Yes, sir.
And what prompts you to join the civil services with such a coveted educational and highly specialized academic background? What is it that takes you to join the civil service?
So there are two reasons why I want to join the civil services, sir. One is about the nature of the job itself, and the other is a personal reason. It's a personal reason, sir. About the nature of the job, sir, it's a prestigious job. The job provides a diversity. The 19 services that I have filled are from various domains, sir. And then even in a premier service like the Indian Administrative Services, sir, we have this opportunity to work in very diverse fields, from agriculture to healthcare, education. And then in the starting of our career, we could work on policy implementation. And as we grow up, climb up the ladder, we could actually work on policy formulation. So this is something that drives me, like no other job in the country will give you so much to work and so much to learn from. This is about the job, sir. And a personal reason why I want to join the civil services comes from my association with the National Service Scheme NSS BITS Pilani chapter, sir. So I come from Kolkata, which is a metropolitan city, and I've seen the best of facilities available to me from the city, sir. Whenever I visited Pilani, sir, and the surrounding villages, sir, the situation was a bit different, sir. The electricity wasn't that commonly available. Then the medical facilities went up to the mark. The area lacked a super specialty hospital, sir. So this is where I felt that as an engineer, I can do a lot. But then as a civil servant, as an administrator, as an IAS, I can do even better. If not bringing these people to the level of Kolkata, I can help them get better with their human life indicators, sir. So this is what drives me, sir. Working for the people, sir. Working at the ground level, sir. Working among people, sir.
I'll come back to what chairman of this panel had asked you about your association, the anti-ragging committee.
Yes.
Now, in whatever capacity you were there, were you there to mitigate some, bring it down? Like you said, that interaction had increased.
Yes, sir. So we had two major rules about the anti-ragging committee that a student member was supposed to have, sir. One was to prevent any cases of ragging from emerging, and if it has emerged, we need to ensure that the proper action has been taken or the authorities are informed of it. And the second was to create an enabling atmosphere wherein the juniors and seniors could mix freely, could have interactions without actually either party causing harm to the other. So these were the two main motives of us, or the two main mandates that a student member had to fulfill as a member of the anti-ragging committee.
There was a thought some time back that the pro-ragger lobby, pro-ragging lobby, they would say that breaks the innovation among the young students, new entrants, and they become more smart. What is your view on this?
So we can have a dedicated, friendly student junior senior interaction for this, sir. My college bears a testament to it, sir. We haven't, as in from BITS Pilani, we haven't had a case of ragging since last it was reported in 2011 or 2010. So this is something that can be done. Ragging, as I said, sir, it's a taboo in itself, sir, a taboo word in itself, sir. So we do not need to humiliate the students to bring them closer to the juniors. There are other ways we could be helpful. In BITS Pilani, we had a dedicated LAN portal for the same, sir, wherein a student could actually place his doubt. For example, some student wants to join a club, and any senior who was relevant, he could actually connect.
Oh, got it. Tell me, very recently in Gujarat, high-powered meeting was undertaken by the Prime Minister. Dignitaries had also come. Who were the foreign dignitaries who were present in Gujarat very recently?
So I'm unable to.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. It was regarding, say, discussion of alternate medicines, Ayurveda, etc. Are you aware of this?
Yes,
When
sir.
did it take place?
Sir, if I'm not wrong, it took place in the month of March, sir.
No. Where did it take?
Sir, Gandhinagar, sir. Early.
No, it was in Jamnagar.
WHO. Sorry, sir.
No, it's okay. But who all dignitaries attended it? Are you aware?
So I remember the head of WHO. I am unable to recall his name, sir. The doctor was there as a member, sir. I do not recall the names of other dignitaries, sir.
Okay. It was the Mauritian Prime Minister, just for your information.
Yes, sir.
Why was Maldives in news recently? Do you know? Maldives, where is it situated?
So it's in the Indian Ocean, directly southwest to the Indian landmass, sir.
Why is it significant to India? Is it pro-India, anti-India?
So India has been a very long-standing partner of the Maldives, sir, and what some foreign policy experts have pointed out, that India suffers a government-faced issue in country like Maldives, wherein some certain governments are pro-Indians, where certain governments aren't very open to Indians, sir. So there has been a recent protest, like some protest in some sections of the Maldivian society, wherein there were some slogans like "India out." They wanted limited Indian interference in the Maldivian presence.
Which religion is practiced in Maldives?
So Islam is the dominant religion, sir.
And in Sri Lanka, which religion?
So Buddhism is the dominant religion, but Christianity and Islam and Hinduism are also present in significant numbers, sir.
Last question, do you think Indian maritime security
Yes, sir.
is secure? Our waters are secure from the security point of view,
So,
strategic point of view.
sir,
You got my question?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I'm of the opinion that in a 21st century with rapidly changing geopolitical scenarios, at no level of preparation is prepared enough, sir, or no level of security is secure enough, sir. We have made very significant progresses, sir. We are engaging with our littoral nations, sir. We have
But
had a-
that's a very general, Mr. Shukla, that, it's secure, it's all right. But what do you see? Suppose there is an attack from China to vessels or anything, or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, no chances, or other some littoral states. Will we be able to thwart it?
yes, sir.
India's Navy and Maritime will be able to counter it.
Yes, sir.
So that means we are prepared.
Yes, sir.
That means we are secure.
Yes, sir. But there's always a scope for being better at it, sir.
Always there in any.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you,
Chahal
sir.
Shubham,
Sir.
what is Quad and what is its objective?
The Quad is a political security initiative by 4 countries of the Indo-Pacific region, sir. India, Australia, Japan, and the United States as members. Its initiative is securing a free, fair, and rules-based Indo-Pacific, sir.
Now, that is in Indo-Pacific context.
Yes, sir.
Why Indian Ocean region has been in news recently?
So there are multiple reasons why the Indian Ocean region has been in news, sir. In the 21st century, we see the geopolitical axis being shifted from the Europe to the Asian region, sir, and Indo-Pacific occupies a very central position in it, sir. Indo-Pacific region has the Indian Ocean region has 2 major trade choke points, sir. One in the Middle East and another near the Gulf of Malacca. So it's very important trade-wise, sir. Then India is a very important rising power in the geopolitical arena, and thus India is extracting significant influence, which makes Indian Ocean region very important for us, sir. And lastly, we have seen the rise of China not being that peaceful as the Chinese have claimed, and frequent Chinese submarines have been sighted in the Indian Ocean region, which makes this area very prone to any destabilization, and hence Indian Ocean region is also very frequently in news, sir.
What is meant by inner party democracy?
So, inner party democracy in the simplest sense would imply democracy within the party structure and the party systems and the functioning of how the party operates, sir.
Can you explain?
For example, sir, there is a political party in place which contests elections, follows the rules of law, rules of the election, sir, in a parliamentary democracy. This would amount to the external party democracy, sir. But sir, if the position holders are elected by their own cadres and then from their regional units and regional structures, sir, this would actually amount to the inner party democracy, sir. And then the lower level, even the karyakartas or the ground level workers, sir, are able to access or make their point of view across to the high national level committee or even the state level committees, sir. This would actually amount to inner party democracy, sir.
You have an idea what was the NAS Foundation case?
So it was about homosexuality, sir. Like the Supreme Court in the NAS Foundation case verdict ruled that sections of Section 377 of the IPC which related to homosexuality was struck down.
And what was Keshwanand Bharti?
The Keshwanand Bharti was a landmark case which defined the basic structure of the it was a verdict on the basic structure of the constitution, sir.
What is meant by forward trading?
So forwards are instruments which derive their values from an underlying asset, sir. So trading of forwards on a platform or even on OTC, over the counter, would come under the ambit of forward trading, sir.
Okay. There have been a series of talks at the level of military commanders after the Galwan Valley incident.
Yes, sir.
Between India and China.
Yes, sir.
What, according to you, are the reasons these talks have not succeeded?
So there are a couple of reasons why I believe the talks haven't succeeded, sir. The biggest reason would be China has occasionally held talks, but it hasn't implemented the outcomes or any decisions, sir. The second would be, sir, the de-escalation in spirit hasn't been achieved. Like there have been talks about Chinese army taking, like reverting back to its original position, sir. But then time and again we see multiple incursions, sir. So it brings us back to a big zero, sir. And the third reason why is the lack of a political motive or a lack of a political initiative in China, sir. China wants India to be involved in these issues, border issues, so that India's own domestic or security priorities are limited in a very limited zone, sir. And this is something that China could actually very much utilize against India in the coming years, sir.
Okay, that will do.
Thank you, sir.
Shubham,
Sir.
in the process of taking questions, you spoke of the Maldives problem, where one government comes, they are pro-India, the other government comes, they are anti-India. Do you see some merit in track 2 diplomacy that the state should adopt?
So I'm of the view that track 2 diplomacy is a very important pillar of any democratic consultation in the international arena, sir. Especially, sir, when the governments are prone to cyclic variations, sir. Like some governments might be in favor of us, whereas some governments might not be. So the track 2 or the level 2 diplomacy would actually help consolidate the good work that is done by the official channels, sir. So yes, sir.
What is the strategic diplomatic advantage that it accrues to a country? For example, we engage with Pakistan through track 2 diplomacy. What strategic advantage does India derive out of this, irrespective of government changes in that country, in Pakistan?
Sir, can I think about it for a couple of seconds?
Sure.
So the biggest advantage that I feel the track 2 diplomacy provides is a level of flexibility, sir. It happens away from the public eye, away from the political acumen that usually the high level talks or the political talks, the talks between the political leaders bring about, sir. At the same time, sir, issues can be discussed very openly and very freely. And we feel that often track 2 diplomacy supplements what the good work has been done by the track 1 or the regular diplomacy, sir. So this is what, in my opinion, a benefit of having a track 2 diplomacy brings.
But you also think that in the other country,
Yes,
which
sir.
is being transacted with, it creates an opinion that, say, India can take advantage of. For example, if there is some punitive measure that Pakistan is thinking of imposing over India, and the public opinion vis-a-vis India in Pakistan is fairly favorable, so it creates some kind of a pressure on the government in Pakistan to act against
Thank you for
a
pointing that
particular
out, sir.
country.
It's
And do you see that in this Ukraine issue, Russia-Ukraine issue,
Yes, sir.
there is something that both these countries are finding it hard to leverage because people-to-people contact, or do you think that India and Russia have a good history of people-to-people contact or something of that sort? Do you see some reverberance of this?
So India and Russia have had very good people-to-people contact and a good political relationship, sir. Like which even led our former Prime Minister to remark that Russia is our most trusted friend. But then, sir, if we are looking at the perspective of Ukraine, sir, India hasn't had that great of an approach with Ukraine because Ukraine for a very long period of time was with the USSR, sir. So this is where India lacks with respect to Ukraine, sir.
Do you think that India's abstinence from voting at the UN voting that happened and this neutral position
Yes, sir.
that India takes vis-a-vis Ukraine has something to do with it?
So
Or is it purely out of national interest, as they say it?
So, I'm of the opinion that India's decision to abstain from voting, especially in the expulsion of Russia from UNHCR, sir, is driven by a sense of responsibility and sense of rule of law and respect for institutions, sir. Now, with respect to, if we have to talk about UNHCR, sir, the West is accusing Russia of committing like genocide and war crimes, sir. So the natural progression of solution would be to hold Russia accountable in a proper legal institutional mechanism, sir. Pushing Russia out of an organization which deals with human rights serves no purpose, sir. It will be a unilateral sanction, and it will be against the principle of natural justice, wherein Russia would not be given an opportunity to defend itself, sir. So this is why I feel India might have like abstained from voting, sir.
Okay, Shubham, while looking at your CV, I saw the subjects that you did at BITS Pilani.
Yes, sir.
I was a little intrigued what it all means. SCM, Lean, Manufacturing, Thesis, Humanities,
Yes, sir.
and PCB.
Yes, sir.
So how do I understand you as what engineer? I mean, we know electrical, civil, computers. So what do I say about you?
By my graduation, sir, I am a manufacturing engineer, sir. And this degree is a very new degree in BITS Pilani. It was started in 2011. And as a manufacturing engineer, we were under the Department of Mechanical Engineering, sir, and had a couple of courses common with the Mechanical Engineering Department, sir. But at the same time, we had a couple of courses which were overlapped with the operations research or operations management of the MBA faculty, sir, which was although taken by the Mechanical Engineering Department in themselves, sir. So SCM, the supply chain management, is an important course, sir. There, sir. Lean manufacturing is an important course.
So do you agree with the premise with which the new education policy works, and that is interpenetration of disciplines, and what are the advantages coming out of interdisciplinarity? There was a time when specialization in a particular discipline was fairly valued.
Yes, sir.
Right, and these are the times we are into the times where interdisciplinary is the buzzword.
Yes.
So, what are the advantages occurring from interdisciplinary, and why do we need that much of focus to be cast upon interdisciplinarity?
So, the 21st century, sir, had led to a transition in the way work is being done, factories are being operated, and in gen how everything goes about, sir. Today, nothing is there are very little arenas which are linear, sir. It's all complex and overlapping, sir. And this is where the role of interdisciplinary systems comes, sir. As a manufacturing engineer, my learnings from both mechanical as well as from the operations research or the operations management can be implemented in various places, sir. I have published a research paper, as my DAF points out, sir, in 5S management, sir. I have worked on a thesis in the steel supply chain, sir. On top of that, sir, we are witnessing the use of Six Sigma and 5S in workplace improvement even in the bureaucracy, sir. So this is where, sir, interdisciplinary systems come into play, sir. They do not just limit themselves to the traditional disciplines, but the applications that come out of interdisciplinary subjects, sir, have a multifaceted and a wide range of utilization, sir.
Okay. How many aircraft carriers do we have? We were talking about maritime security, and you said that no security is good enough these days. So, how many aircraft carriers do we have as a nation?
So, I am not aware about the exact number, but if allowed to guess, can I?
Sure.
So, I think it's one, sir.
Yeah. And are you aware of this tussle? Perhaps General Saab will be able to tell us more about it. This tussle between Indian Air Force and Indian Navy. Indian Navy wants more aircraft carriers, whereas the overall command that we have created over the three wings of armed forces, it says that no, let's develop Andaman Nicobar Islands as the base for maritime surveillance and deterrence and whatever. Will you have something more to say on this?
So I think the creation of a integrated command at Andaman has been a very important step that came a couple of years late, but nevertheless it is very important that it came. And about the tussle, there are two perspectives that I hold, sir. First perspective is that any wing of the defense forces needs adequate amount of men, material, equipment and funds to function well. So if there's a demand, there's a genuine demand, it must be looked into. And at the same time, sir, I would actually hold that the magnitude in which the conflict has been portrayed is more of a level of a perception that has been created by media and not that bad as media is make. It's not. It doesn't feel that bad as media is trying to make out of it. So I believe that there is fair level of cooperation in among all the three services, and heaven forbid if tomorrow there's an issue, I'm sure that sir, all the wings will cooperate very well, sir. So
No,
this is
I'm
my
asking
perspective, sir.
about the strategic advantage of developing Andaman Nicobar Island as the place from where, without even having more aircraft carriers, you can adequately, safeguard the maritime interest of India. And the counterpoint is that no, go for this is a costly alternative that India as a country will have, but that is what is being said, that no, go for more aircraft carriers instead.
Sir, as a novice, sir, I would say why not both, sir? Like we have a very good defense budget, and the defense is something that the government is actually very serious about. I mean, the government is serious about almost everything, but defense has a very high priority on the list of the government, sir. So I think, sir, creation of an Andaman and Nicobar integrated command is a good start. Other such commands, if required, can be created in the future. And at the same time, sir, having more like aircraft carriers would not hurt. In fact, it will actually supplement how our armies and our navies and our air force is being operated, sir.
So, Shubham, the last question would be from the subject that you would choose.
Sir.
You will select a subject of your choice.
Yes, sir.
That will be the last question I will ask from that subject.
So, political science and international relations, sir, my optional.
Okay, so tell me, West Bengal has just had by-election.
Yes, sir.
Now, what are by-elections as compared to general election?
By-elections are elections to like legislative bodies which are conducted due to a vacancy which arises mid-term, sir. Whereas the general or the other election, general elections or other elections are conducted on the expiry of its full term, or in case before expiry the house gets dissolved. So by-election is for a couple of seats, whereas general or major election is for large number of seats or the full or the whole of the house, sir.
So by-elections, when they fall vacant, what is the time period within which the by-election should be held?
So 6 months, sir.
And what about general elections to an assembly?
So in case the house is being dissolved, the election
Not dissolved. Expiry of the term. How early can the elections? It's never. If the term expires and then elections are held, obviously there will be a crisis,
Yes,
constitutional crisis. So, how many days before the elections can be announced or held from the date of expiry of the term of the assembly?
So I'm a little confused. I'm missing some details, but if I'm not wrong, I would like to take a guess on it, sir.
Yeah, please.
So if I'm not wrong, the legislatures, if the house is dissolved, sir, the legislators continue to function, to work as MLAs until the new house is
You
being
did not
selected.
get my question. My question is, suppose if West Bengal Assembly is ending in 2026 May. So when can the election commission hold the elections? How early? Without the actual dissolution of the assembly.
So I'm unaware
You're not
about it,
aware
sir.
of that.
But I remember reading it in a newspaper that the new house that must be formed must be before the expiry of the
Naturally.
terms.
Naturally. So thank you, Shubham. So Shubham, how do you think you have performed today? Your own assessment generally?
So I think I have performed well, and there's always a scope for being better, sir. I think there are a couple of areas that I need to work upon,
Like?
because like sometimes there was this question that you asked wherein I could have actually ended the question very well if I did not actually know about it, rather than making a guess.
Which one?
The West Bengal
Okay.
term.
What else?
And then, sir, I tried my best to answer the questions in and some places I think I went a little overboard with my answers, sir. So this is what I feel, sir.
Okay. So Shubham, let me start from the beginning. One is about your person. Please. Coming to, so there are three parts, personality, including your expressions, confidence level and all. the second is delivery, and third is your content. Okay. Now, as far as your personality is concerned, you were very confident. You were, your expressions were, I mean, you were relaxed, and you were quite in conversation mode, and comfortable. Your delivery was, in terms of speaking, you are a very excellent, you're an excellent speaker, and you spoke very well, articulation, use of words and all. The third part is about the content, so that is where you lack. Now, the panel saw that when it came to giving your views,
Yes, sir.
that also when both aspects have been told, like in many questions you did not know the background.
Yes, sir.
So then I explained Uttarakhand, this. So you heard everything and then you gave the judgment kind.
Sir.
So those views that you gave were good. That means your views were balanced, and they were, the balance of judgment, the trait you have. But what is desired that the moment something is told to you, you should be knowing about that particular subject.
Yes, sir.
Right? So, starting from, say for example, this manufacturing, that was basically both content based and your knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Basically. So I asked you about how manufacturing industry or what areas will be affected.
Yes,
So
sir.
your answer was very generic. And I also mentioned two events: China, COVID in China.
Yes, sir.
You discuss COVID in general. Ukraine war. Now, what you should have done that China locked down, the present lockdown. So there are certain things which we are missing from China. You could have mentioned you are a manufacturing engineer, semiconductors, then mobile accessories.
Yes, sir.
And there are some more on which we are still dependent on China.
Yes, sir.
Right? Number two, you should have taken Russia. There are certain things which we are not able to get from Russia. There are certain things which we get from Ukraine also, edible oils. So your thing should have been very specific, and that would happen only when you had the knowledge. So please prepare a question on a question that how has India's trade been affected and manufacturing has been affected because of the economic impact of the war, economic impact of COVID in China. I'm not talking in general because COVID is not elsewhere.
Yes, sir.
So specifically, Shanghai is all closed.
Yes, sir.
So what I'm trying to say is you should prepare the economic impacts, the financial impacts, political impacts,
Yes, sir.
so, of the war. So that is one. Secondly, you did not know why finance minister has gone to Washington. Now that's something which you should know because maybe you have not read the newspapers for the last 2-3 days. Even the Food Corporation of India and private sector, why private sector? You went into a very generic, again general, commonsensical answer.
Yes, sir.
And I also pointed out private sector is not under any pressure
Yes, sir.
from the government, but you still harped on that, no, private sector you said something. Now basically the reason is that India is exporting a lot. There is a demand from many countries. Prime Minister has made the statement that India can feed the world if WTO allows. Egypt has signed a contract with India.
Yes, sir.
So today all the private sector people are buying and exporting wheat. Right? Now this again is not my creation. This is basically, it's not an idea, it is a fact which you should have read.
I remember reading the news, but it did not occur to me at the time.
Maybe.
I'll work on it, sir.
Uttarakhand also, you answered well. Once you knew the facts, you answered very balanced. So you speak very good.
Yes, sir.
Your views are very good when the situation is given to you. That way your personality has been excellent. The only thing is that while you speak, you are speaking in a bit informal way. Speaking fast is not an issue. You have a good command over English, but at the same time, you should also see that, you should be a bit more formal. I noted one thing that you mentioned. In general, you wanted to say, in general, you said in Jan. What did that mean in Jan? You said that?
Yes, sir.
What did it mean?
I'm sorry, sir. Like it was the abbreviated form of.
Correct.
I'll work on this, sir.
This is like, one felt that you were talking to your, other friends, adult friends, intellectual friends.
I'm sorry, sir. This won't happen.
No. See, basically, this is your mock interview. We are here to tell you.
Yes.
So don't do it in the main interview.
Yes.
That is more important, right? Then you also have a tendency to speak on I. Wherever something is asked, what is your view? You can just start with one. Now you gave your own example. For example, sir, I have worked in this, I have worked in that. It was a multiple, interdisciplinary thing. Why do you have to bring you? You can give any example and leave it there. You may just mention in general that, interdisciplinary thing is very important because of this, whatever you said. Then you substantiate it by saying, sir, like I have worked here, I had this. Did you say that?
Yes, sir. So actually, I was
There was no
very impersonal in my
There was
couple of
no-
interviews, but
I
then
know.
some panel actually recommended me to give examples from your own life, what you have done.
No, but that was on asking or without being asked? When some panelists asked you to give some example, then did you say this or you said on your own?
So,
You were asked to say without being asked by the panelist.
I was told that while you're talking about supply chains, you can talk about what you have done. But
That was in the feedback or that was in the question itself?
then that was, sorry, sir.
That was part of the actual question during the actual interview, that gives some more examples of your or
this
maybe
was-
was it the feedback?
This was told to me in feedback, sir, but I'll work on it, sir.
All right. I think you have to, this I factor, you see the video.
Yes, sir.
It was very prominent.
Yes,
I
am of the opinion, or I view that I'll work on it.
wherever the opinion has been asked, in most of the questions, what is your opinion? I think that, but there are some more I's in addition to this. You just see the video and if they are not directly related to any personal views, then it's fine. Rest, I think the only thing is brush up your knowledge
Yes, sir.
about your DAF and everything. And you see, civil services also, you made the answer so long. You talked everything except what you should have actually talked. In the end also, one did not know why you are joining the civil service. You should just mention, I am passionate about the public services, diversity of job satisfaction, challenges and opportunities. I think you gave so many instances and then revolving around the issue and without coming to any particular conclusion. Why do you have to be so long, in answering this question? It should be clear in your mind. The more you speak, the more, hazy is your mind. Right? Are you recalling your answer about civil services?
Yes, sir.
What did you say?
I divided it into 2 parts, sir. And the first part was about the nature of the job, sir, the prestige and the diversity. I over-explained on the diversity part, sir.
Don't explain, don't give example. So the
sir.
crux of the matter is, don't explain. You see, we are asking a question so we know. Just a little bit hint from your side and then a little bit of elaboration is enough. Right? Explaining is like, explaining to the teacher. So, Shubham, anything you want to ask us?
So there is one thing that I wanted to ask, sir. I have worked as a faculty in a chemistry, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, two questions on this. First, sir, how would the board view it? There are many people who are actually of the opinion that UPSC does not actually encourage coachings and all. So this you might be actually viewed negatively. But then, sir, it was a job, sir. I got it. So
They can ask you, or even I was curious, but then, there's always a time limit. What did you do in Akash Institute? But then I understood that you were in faculty of chemistry.
yes, sir.
Now, in Akash Institute, which is known to be a coaching institution,
Yes, sir.
so you should not have any problem in saying anything about it. They may come to how coaching is important or whether coaching is good. Everyone criticizes coaching. You think it is good in India. Even the CUET, Common University Entrance Test, is fraught with this criticism that it will.
Boom coaching institutions.
उस पे क्वेश्चन आ सकता है.
Fine, sir.
बट आपने कोचिंग क्यों ज्वाइन करी? एवरीवन नोज यू आर हियर on behalf of some coaching institution only, no?
I've self-prepared, sir.
हाँ?
I've self-prepared.
आज तो जो कर रहे हो क्या कर रहे हो?
Yes, sir.
इंटरव्यू के बाद
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very
हाँ,
true, sir.
वो ठीक है. You may not have joined any academy, but यहाँ भी तो academy है ये.
Yes, sir. True.
So उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Don't feel diffident about it.
Yes, sir.
Anything else on this?
And like, since I was a faculty of chemistry and this was around 4 years back, sir. So like, how much do I prepare on chemistry? Because chemistry was also my optional for the first 2 attempts, but then I couldn't actually.
No, chemistry applied, they may switch over to the chemicals, pollution, industrial pollution due to chemicals. They may switch over, they may also discuss about pharmaceuticals, pharmacy. When is your interview?
So 18th May.
18th May, you have time. So just think about maybe Union Carbide. How would you prevent a situation like that? Pollution, chemical warfare. Not your carbon का वो बना, carbon footprints, zero carbon, because carbon is part of chemistry.
Yes, sir.
वो structure नहीं पूछेंगे carbon का उसका, ठीक है ना?
Yes, sir.
और कुछ?
Yes, sir. This is most.
So Shubham, we have given you very good marks, 65% today. But you are a very promising candidate. Just take care of the excessive speaking,
Yes, sir.
right? Substance in content, current affairs, and remove that I factor to an extent, and kind of your views are good and longish, wasn't? And you will certainly make it. Thank you, Shubham.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.